Good morning, everybody. At least from the East Coast. It may not be your good morning, but you're going to have to live with my good morning. Good morning for me. It is 10:05. We're a handful of minutes late here. Sorry to keep the guys that are waiting. Sorry to keep you waiting. It's May 8th. Exciting day. It's good to be in May. We'll see just how crazy the month of May gets. I don't know if you've noticed, things are getting kind of heated again in crypto land. A little bit of meme coin, just menagerie, but also just ledger domain, sort of a little bit of magic is happening right now, where like Pepe and Turbo and Ordi and all this stuff is going a little bit wild. I remember reading about some of these, and I was not. No part of me was like, "Hey, I think this will be a $1 billion market cap coin in a month." But that's exactly what they've done, and so it's brought all this attention back to crypto. Crypto has been sort of like in the doldrums, slowly crawling its way out of this, miserable existence of black swan after black swan after black swan. Um, as crypto finally put it on her Twitter feed, she was like, I was mentally prepared for one black swan, but not for five." And in the recovery process, I didn't have it on my bingo card that meme coins were going to go become $1 billion market cap coins in a very short amount of time. This is a little bit unexpected to me, kind of wild out there. So crypto just doing crypto things. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed it, but crypto does crypto things. At some point, I imagine some of those weird crypto things will find their way to our market. In some ways, they are, right, because it's the mega highs and the mega lows. These are crazy days. This is going to be a crazy month and a crazy year. Some of this just seems of epic historic proportions as bank after bank fails. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like, I don't know, what is it? Four of the five largest bank failures in American history have happened within like the last 3 months. So just kind of wacky times out there. It's just wacky. And by wacky, I mean like whoever designed this whole thing, um, it's somewhere between like a controlled explosion where they're like bringing down the banks one by one by one, and just like also just mayhem, because there's lots of these things happening all simultaneously, and it's just a little bit crazy for me. Um, but those are some of my musings. I guess I should say you're listening to the town hall. This is the voice of Agro, the founder and CEO of Splinterlands. We've done something like 3 billion battles. We put 2 billion transactions on chain. We've done 1 billion card rentals collectively. Just kind of crazy to think about all the things that we've done. And we're still hanging around. It's been this rough bear market. A lot of projects have gone to zero, absolute zero, rugged, toast, money all gone. But that's not us. We're out here. We're staying alive, like the Bee Gees might have said back in the 70s. And we're still just kind of doing this thing, and appreciate you guys hanging with us as we navigate some of the most I don't know. These are some of the most horrific or not marketing conditions, but market conditions I can imagine. Of like the highest interest rates since 2007, the fastest rate hikes since something like 1970. Just a lot of things that are happening um, to just give us a lot of headwind. And yet, even with that headwind, we're still here, still building, still growing, still fighting back, still trying to make the world's most awesome game and tweak these economics to make it so that it's some of the most exciting place to be. And really trying to make sure that our community, even though a bunch of us seem to be in the salt word category, we're engaged, we're connected, and we feel like we have a community around us. And there's not a lot of groups that are going to have that, especially in the down times, right? Like finding people to go cheerlead and hype you when it's the best of times. That's not too hard. But to see that you still have an active and engaged community, even if they have mostly transitioned into salt lords, you guys are still here, and I know that's because you're passionate advocates of this project, and for that, I thank you. If we could deliver something a little bit less salty, that would be my preference, but you guys do you. And at some point here, I don't think it'll be too long, but we're going to start seeing that all of these projects that we've been working on, especially land, bear some fruit, and we just have some some better roads ahead. The best is yet to come. The best is on its way. Splinterlands is still working hard, have this amazing team, and we're building amazing pieces. Okay. So we don't have a massive lineup this morning. So we're going to be able to spend some time with each one of the team members that's here. Let's go do a team stand up and just kind of get a sense of what the good people are going to be talking about. So I see Chatter and Weirdbeard, Investigator, and Nate. If you guys could go in that order and just sort of give a one sentence of who you are and what we're going to talk about, that'd be awesome.
Perfect. I'm Chatter. I'm the kind of director of growth and marketing for Splinterlands. Today is really just going to be a full deep dive on marketing, kind of what we're doing, both for Splinterlands as well as some kind of new upcoming projects. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on, so really just trying to give you the full lay of the land here.
Yeah, welcome back. It's good to have you here.
Hello, I am Weirdbeard. I have my hands in a lot of different stuff, so my title's kind of irrelevant in this day and age, but I'm making sure that land gets delivered on time, that we have a lot of these new projects coming up and worked on for stuff that the community is interested in. So I can talk about some of our feedback, some of our future plans, and about a really cool ghost card tournament happening on Friday.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, Investigator. Gator, what's up?
Well, I'm here to talk about what's going on with the release tomorrow, like I do every week.
Sweet. And Nate? Nate, you're muted. It is more fun when you're off mute.
Crap, damn. I thought I pushed
There we
that button. VP of Creative, do all the fun stuff, the art, the animation, the UX, UI, and we'll probably end up talking about a little bit about, I guess, land.
I heard of land before. I'm excited to learn more about it. Okay, I think we're diving first into the Gator himself. So let's go dive in. That's your table of contents for the show today. It's time to meet the Muppets. It's time to do the thing. Let's go talk to everybody, and let's start with a Investigator here and see, what's in the release tomorrow. What are we going after, and what musings are you hearing, or what are you kind of running into of what seems next up on the docket?
Well, this is an earlier town hall, so I haven't actually had time to write release notes, so I'll be doing this off the cuff, but not a whole heck of a lot going out tomorrow. A lot of stuff is in progress. So the main things going out tomorrow are a market update to allow third-party markets to set an expected DEC price and basically a allowed variance, or basically how far the DEC price can be off for the purchase to go through. And if they are submitting something where they think the price feed for DEC is different than what it actually is, then we will reject it if it doesn't match up with the numbers they give us, which should address the issue that happened with Peak Monsters a couple weeks ago. Outside of that, we are slowly extending locking of assets. So we're going to add title locking. So you can lock that so it can't be sold until however many days you want to lock a title for has passed. And that's about it for stuff that's definitely going.
That's a quiet week. Now, do you get a sense of why it's a quiet week? Is there something happening kind of under the hood that might otherwise be drawing our attention to it?
We have 3 devs out on vacation. The main one working on validators, the main database person, and one of the people that works on Splinterlands were all out for most of last week. Also, a lot of stuff is in flight. So there's a couple people working on land 1.5, and that's something that's not going to go out piecemeal necessarily. So
yeah, we try to do them where they really go out in in piecemeal fashion, but we felt like we couldn't do that for land 1.5. Like if we release something like, oh, here's your monster staking to go clear out the land, there wouldn't be any incentive then to hurry up and try to get things done faster than everybody else, because you could just, you'd have an infinite amount of time because you didn't know when the release was going to happen for the rest of it. So you just kind of I'll just take my time and do it however I want. but we don't want people doing that. We want everybody feeling that like, I got to get this done. I'm in a race. And so yeah, we couldn't do it piecemeal. So we're gonna kind of like push our way through June. We'll see. Hopefully we're not keeping you up till midnight every Tuesday, trying to work out the kinks. And hopefully there'll be one beautiful day in June, and it'll be like, all right, well, we're gonna need you to stay up for 48 hours to get all these kinks worked out as we release this land, because it's all coming in one big old update. So I just hope I should buy you some like Red Bulls and an extra pillow so that you can sleep as well as humanly possible, and go build up your sleep bank so that by the time that we get there, you're just ready to go and in a good spot to deal with the, here's this massive, 800-page update that is all things Land 1.5.
Yeah, so it should be a short update tomorrow. That's the good news. There are a couple of things we're doing that aren't really game related as much. We are lifting one of the services over to our new infrastructure, which, as long as it works right, should be invisible to everybody.
Yeah, backend changes are like the least sexy thing ever. Nobody, if it goes well, nobody experiences it. If it goes badly, everybody starts flaming us for days until it's fixed, and then it goes back to being invisible. So yeah. And that's part of like cost reductions, or is that just like efficiency? What is that really tied to?
Part automated updates and part cost reduction. So this is going to be basically our APIs that talk to any external service. So if you're trying to check like what you've got on Wax or OpenSea, or trying to do transactions with SimpleSwap or Transact, most of that goes through the service that we're going to be moving. And we're moving it to a basically instant service server, so we can spin up multiple instances if we need to. And it's basically just a button push to update it. And we'll be shutting down the more expensive old server that's been running on. So it should be a cost reduction and
efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency.
Awesome. All right. Is that anything else?
Yeah, gotta try to scrape what else we got. We're making some database archiving updates, which is just clean up on the back end, making some changes for support so they have a little more utilities that they can help customers with. And that is about it, but it's definitely going out tomorrow. There's one change that's probably going to get pushed to next week that I wanted to get out, but I'll see if we can get it in today, which is a follow-up to last week's market normalization, where we did a bunch of database cleanup. So I've got some APIs ready an API ready that will let people pull market data with limited results, as opposed to the current functionality where you get
all the results.
Yeah.
This is an efficiency that we've been waiting for a little bit. It's like somebody's like, I'd like to know the price of Ulrich, and our servers are like, can I give you the entire database of all card prices? And you're like, yes, but I really just wanted this one. And apparently when you do that hundreds of thousands of times a day, it gets fairly expensive. So we're narrowing this down, and it's both like an efficiency thing. Like, we don't have to transfer the entire database to the person asking it. So that's nice that they're not having to download a much bigger file, and they just get the one piece of information they want. But it's also about this thing called egress, which is our like data transfer back and forth and the amount that we get charged for it by Amazon, and bringing that way down. That'll be nice to not, have to give to pay Amazon nearly as much money as we have been.
Yeah, we need to do some QA testing on it today and see about performance, if we need to do further database work before it's ready to go, but might be next week. I want to try to push it in for tomorrow, just because it would be really nice to stop pushing out several megs of data when you just want like a couple of results about the market.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like we're going to be doing okay. It sounds like tomorrow's not a big one. Hopefully all the servers don't catch fire or something. But thanks as always for putting this stuff together. Hopefully tomorrow is smooth, and really we're looking forward to the bigger ones that are coming down kind of towards the end of May or beginning of June.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have at least one big tech modernization update maybe next week. We'll see how that's coming along, but I know they've been working on replacing another page, so
I'm dying for you guys to get to battles, because when battles finally happens, I feel like maybe we can do some work on the mobile app. Is that how far down the road do you think that is? Are we getting close to it?
battles is definitely a high priority, but also probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
It'll require some creative time, so that may be a little ways out before
All right.
that's ready. But
Afterland. We
We're
gotta think
getting-
about Afterland.
yeah, we're getting there. We're getting all the other pages knocked out. So then there's just gonna be battle.
Yeah. So for all the guys that are like, why won't you fools update the mobile app? Why won't you fools do anything for mobile? Why do you abandon mobile? I just want you to know, every time that Investigator talks about, here's the next web page that's in the vNext format, in the tech modernization, each one of those is laying the foundation so that we can switch the way that we do the mobile. So hopefully our mobile apps get drastically updated, and it's something that in the future we don't have to put as much time towards, and we just build the damn thing once rather than having to build it a couple different ways every single time. So it makes us more efficient. It makes us in a better spot. It makes the mobile experience a lot better. Literally every single piece of this should get better. But it just takes us time to go work through all the pages so we can do that. But when we finally get to battles, that's when I feel like we can finally start tweaking the mobile app and actually saying, let's go actually adjust this thing and start giving people a more full experience. It won't be a full experience because, Apple and Android are not super friendly towards crypto, but even without it being a full experience, we still gotta work on it.
Yeah.
So, sound good?
It sounds good. I would also like the mobile app to be updated myself, because it makes it a lot easier to play on the go.
Yeah. All right. Well, Investigator, thanks so much for kind of keeping us in the loop. I appreciate your work. I appreciate the sort of nerve-wracking experience it is to go do these the database uploads and all the maintenance experience that we do on our Tuesdays. Thanks for doing that. And I look forward to a new set of features, even if they're a little small this week. I know that the big ones are coming, especially in June. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
I think we're putting this a little bit earlier in the show. We're gonna go do some Splinterlands TV and welcome the world's most famous and wonderful radio show host / clown activist, Mr. Rondon himself. How are you, sir?
Hey, Ag, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, I'm always excited about Splinterlands TV. In the doldrums, it's this kind of stuff that just helps us keep our community together and help people stay engaged, and the prizes help keep people around. But certainly, if the transition from bear market to bull market keeps going, this is going to be the lifeblood of how we bring in new players, and just that sort of constant interaction with the community and building that community. I really like what Splinterlands TV is doing. So I'm thanking you for your service, thanking the show hosts that are out there. And actually, I should probably need to go do some like shout outs too, don't I?
Yeah, let's do the shout outs.
All right. So it's not that huge. We got oh man, Heza Carew. We got Ruse did nothing wrong, and I've always said that about Ruse. We got DJ Rock, Splinterleaf, Boom Burst, sorry. Shicky Phantom, Solving Chaos, Om Jing, Oniz, Bubba Fedit, and Mistfang. That is not the worst set of things to pronounce, but it is not the easiest. So those are the guys that are constantly watching the shows, constantly, engaging with the streamers and just, helping to build that sense of community on and off the platform. So thanks to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier something about Splinterlands TV is going to be instrumental in building a community, bringing in new people, exposing people, gamers who are our main demographic. Over on Twitch, to this game. But it's also one of the things that I've really noticed is it's created something even like more than I would say Discord in a way, uh, a sense of community, a sense of like belonging, and a sense of like camaraderie, where like people are sticking around, hanging out with each other, challenging each other. I mean, just playing for fun. That's what this game is. It's fun, and that's what I've been seeing now.
It's like the old show Cheers, like where everybody knows your name and you just kind of come in, you hang out, and Abe Wall Street's there, and Luthien is out there sending freaking animated corpses to people after she beats them. You just get into like a little bit of a groove with these things, and the people, and their stories. They share some personal details, and you just kind of know these are our community members. We're not like a bunch of like completely anonymous whatevers. We're actually people, and we're actually a community. We actually hang out with each other.
Absolutely. And you might have heard of something we're doing this month.
Is that in reference to Monster Mayhem? Monster Mayhem, like the month of May, Mayhem.
Yes.
Okay.
And I got to say, the community has been loving it. We've been averaging close to 100 people per stream.
Holy crap, that's the biggest yet.
I mean, that's the average too. So, there's been a lot more, there's been a lot less, but it's been like 90 something, close to 100. It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
The community's really stepped up. I want more of you guys to come out there though. We are giving away, I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of cards on these streams. There's tons of them. Just the other day, somebody gave away like a gold foil legendary, a legendary summoner, and then gave away a kitty, all on the same stream.
Oh wow, that's a huge haul.
Yeah, I mean, and then a couple of halfling alchemists. I mean, like these are some big stuff going on. I mean, you really don't want to miss it. All you got to do is just show up, listen to the streamer. Sometimes they'll say, "Hey, be active in chat." Sometimes they'll say, "Hey, enter this keyword into chat to be part of the giveaway." Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So,
now, do you have a clip of the week, Ron? Do you have what's the community talking about, or what did the guys like?
So this one right here, actually, and I think I got the issue figured out.
Okay,
so we might
see if I can hear this.
Yeah, let's see if this works. So let me try this real quick, and I think I got it messed up because I was messing with all the settings earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it over. Actually, let me turn this off. I'm gonna bring it on and then pause it immediately just to try to make sure that I get everything right. Oh, nope. So the audience heard that. Now, I got it muted. That's what's going on. Let me go ahead and check this out real quick. All right, I think I got it. Let's try this real quick. Nope, I didn't get it. Okay. Well,
so when you started at the beginning, then I can go play it on my end, and that way I can hear it too.
Yep. Let me go ahead and get it unmuted for the audience so they can hear it.
Give me a quick countdown so I can start it on my end too. A little bit of a technical difficulty, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, woke up this morning and things didn't work. So
I woke up this morning and I couldn't play my clip of the week. Do.
What a wicked game we play.
Nice.
All right, let's do in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, my name is Axler Twinblade, and I'm a packaholic. It has been 20 seconds since I last opened a pack of cards. I have a bad problem, guys. It's getting bad.
All right, there's a quick moment in that I really like because it's got him he like opened up his own window, so you got him showing there, and then a little bit of like him in the bottom right too, just a moment of inception. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, that's it's a bit of a problem too for a lot of us. I myself am a packaholic. I can't even. I told myself I'm going to save 100. I'm going to save 100 packs. I got 100 Chaos Legion packs that I'm going to keep and and right now, what am I? I'm down to 91, so I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay, but I just can't help myself.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, why? There's got to be something cool in these. You're not gonna find it if you just leave them like that. Oh, and Axler's here. That's great. And I'm glad that he adds a little punctuation to his name, so you know that it's Axler Twinblade as opposed to Axler Windblade. So he just helps all the people with a little bit of capitalization.
Exactly. But that's about it. So right now, we're big promotions, Monster Mayhem. Guys, we got the clip of the week. Axler Twin Blades winning 500 SPS. The person who submitted that clip is winning 500 SPS. The 4 runners up are winning 200 apiece. We didn't actually have that many entries this week either, so there was a really good chance of winning. And just keep on entering, keep on putting in these clips, keep on showing up, winning these cards. I mean, it's Splinterlands TV, great experience all around. Tons of stuff happening there, guys. So make sure you check it out.
Cool. Okay. Well, Ron, thanks for coming. And I guess I have to go talk to somebody else. And that person that I should be talking to next is Liam with a little bit of a marketing update. And when I say a little bit of a marketing update, I mean a massive marketing update. Liam, I heard that you've been gone and have traveled the world, have slayed dragons, have climbed Mount Everest, and also gone down to the depths of the ocean and met the Kraken himself inside Davy Jones's locker. I think it's been almost a month since you've been on the show. Are you still human? Are you still yourself? Where have you been?
Yeah, still human, a little bit alien. Kraken was a lovely fella. But no, it was everything's been going well. Lots of things going on. I think the kind of other partnerships, the other games and IPs and stuff that we've been building have also been taking a lot of time off my plate too. So it's been a lot of kind of running around and just trying to make sure that everything is getting done and making sure that we still have time for Splinterlands. So apologies that I've missed the past few town halls. Really, everything has just been overlapping meetings and trying to make sure everything's kind of still running behind the scenes here.
Now, do you still work here? Are you still part of the team? You are, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so do you feel I guess I'd like this to be a longer segment, and I just want people to know that there's been a lot of conversation around, what are you doing to bring in new players? What's going on? And without our marketing guy, it's kind of been hard to just share all the details. And I'm not always certain where where each project and each partnership is in terms of like what we can share and what we can't. Do you have like an agenda set that you would like to go through for like the various things that we should probably talk about this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a laundry list a mile long, so I can just work through that if everyone bears with me. But if that works well, we can just tackle things one at a time here.
Yeah, just give me maybe give people the rundown list, or give me the list so that I know, what things we're going to touch on and in what order.
Perfect. Yeah. I want to start by talking about Chibi Dinos and a new IP called Invenium that we are actually going to be launching. I know there's been a little bit of FUD or kind of miscommunication, everything as far as the Chibi Dino announcements go, and a lot of speculation around it. Just to let everyone know, this is not pulling any devs. This is not pulling any real work or anything away from Splinterlands. This is going to be a completely new IP, and it's really going to be about helping new brands launch into Web3 by actually selling productized code bases that we've already kind of built out. So,
right, so that's one. We'll get back to that in a second. What's the next thing that's kind of on the list here?
Next thing is just kind of overview of Splinterlands. So talking about attribution and retention is the first thing. Talking about kind of how we want to start scaling up the marketing program come into a bull market. That's both SEO, that's ads, that's partnerships. And then lastly, we want to also talk about how we want to really look at how we monetize Splinterlands in the future and how we start building against that. I know there was some FUD with the last card sale, the promo card sale that we just did for Zyriel. We want to start working on fun ways to really keep revenue coming into the ecosystem, but also not necessarily cause FUD in the ecosystem and present new opportunities for players to get in without a super high barrier of entry as far as like the price tags and everything go against that too.
All right, so we got dinos, we got Splinterlands. Is there another topic that we're going to cover?
Last one, I just want to briefly talk about some of the other stuff that we're working on and why it's important and how it's going to kind of cross over to Splinterlands. Yes, GLG and Tower Defense and some other projects have been taking some time off the marketing plate, but that is not to say that it's not going to help Splinterlands. Really what we're seeing right now is actually there's some diminishing returns in all the marketing that we're doing for Splinterlands because a lot of people have actually already heard of us. They've already seen the IP. And so when we try and market them, a lot of the marketing that we do is overlaps to people that have already been in the ecosystem or people that have heard of us that don't necessarily want to engage. So when we look at GLG and other projects, we're talking about targeting absolute net new audiences and then cross-promoting those new audiences back to Splinterlands as well.
Yeah. Any other topics that we're going to cover?
I think that's it for the most part for me.
All right. Are we gonna? So we're not gonna kind of talk about AC at all, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we can if you want to.
Yeah, maybe we'll touch on that last because I got some things to say about it, and I think it'll help kind of shape all of these things, and hopefully it brings the room together. If you know what I mean in that Big Lebowski sense. All right, so let's go back to dinos and Invenium. There was this announcement. It seems a little bit funky. So the dinos announcement came in, and they seem to get out a little bit ahead of us, and they started talking about this partnership. And what is Chibi Dinos? What are we doing with them to start? And then you put that in the context of Invenium too. What the hell does a Chibi Dino have to do with this Invenium? And maybe we should start with some definitions to begin.
Definitely. So Chibi is a NFT-based basketball game where the NFTs are kind of dinosaurs meet kind of NBA basketball style visuals and graphics and everything else. They actually came to us and said, hey, look, we want to start building a new game. We want to look at what Splinterland's done. We want your expertise, and we want to figure out how to essentially build a new game for our ecosystem, for our community, for the people that are actually following the game, using the Chibi Dino NFTs as really the pass to be able to play the game and to get into the game.
And they also have an existing game, right? So there's one that they want to build, but there's also one that currently exists.
That's correct.
And that's Primal Hoop, right?
Yep, I think Primal Hoop is the one that we're looking at building with them.
Primal Hoop is the one that currently exists.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting confused here.
Yeah. Well, they both have hoop in them, so that happens sometimes. So yeah. we have dinos, we got Primal Hoop, and so what does this have to do with Genesis or Genesis League Sports, and what does this have to do with Splinterlands?
Yeah. So when we were building out GLG or Genesis League Goals and Genesis League Sports, that entire platform, we had to really build from scratch. So it wasn't as easy as just saying, hey, we're going to take all of the code base that's currently existing for Splinterlands, reproduce it and replicate it, and then just go and launch it to market right away. It was, hey, we can take little elements here and there, but overall, and I mean, Harry, you could probably speak on this a lot better than I can, but we had to rebuild a lot of things from scratch. And when we did that, we realized we could actually productize how we build and how we can actually almost replicate that code base in a very templative format for other people to use as well. And so
and that's the platform now, right? That's what we call this thing Invenium, right? We built the platform. It's a white label platform. It has an SDK, and the first version of that platform, like the original was Splinterlands. It's just a Splinterlands tech, but we kind of rewrote it so other people can build here. And we call that technology stack Invenium. And then the first instance that we stood up of that technology stack was Genesis League Sports. Did I misspeak on any of that? Does that all sound correct to you?
No, that all sounds correct to me.
So Dinos, is Dinos coming to Splinterlands? Is Dinos coming to Genesis League? Are they completely separate?
Yeah, so they're going to be their own separate game. So why we kind of wanted to clear the air here is I know there was a lot of kind of FUD of, oh, hey, is this another game that Splinterlands is building or anything like that? No, this is a game that Chibi and their team are going to be building. We are providing them that kind of template of code base for them to start building against. And we'll probably do some partnerships and everything with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some kind of cross collaboration between maybe like GLG and GB and everything else. But realistically, we're helping them kind of get their jump into the market. And then they're going to be going and building that actual kind of game and the code themselves.
Yeah. So we have their first game. The platform team, not the Splinterlands team, but the platform team is helping them to build like a really simple directory listing, right? It's just very simple. It's just, here's our game, here's Chibi, and then basically you shove it in an iframe. We're not even building the thing. We're just sort of linking out to it, and that's their Primal Hoop game. So they wanted a place to put it. They wanted a place where our viewers could see it. And so this is really one of the first directory listings that we're doing. It's not going to be the last directory listing that we're doing. Sort of as we make this entire ecosystem more friendly for third-party developers to come here, we're going to list more and more games. And as we do that, more and more viewers and more gamers from all these different types of ecosystems are going to come here and find our games and find each other. And this Chibi Dinos thing, they already have a game. It's already out. We're just kind of linking to it. And that's sort of the first place. I guess another part of that partnership is that at some point here, we'll be accepting the Hoop token. So they have their own token, and they want it so that people can buy credits with Hoop. And that's not a big deal for us to add another ERC20 to the list of ERC20s that we take, or maybe that's a BEP20, but either way, taking some EVM compatible ERC20 type token, it takes Matt like 15 minutes to add it. So this isn't like a major development push. It's just, hey, we can accept this token. And part of what that does is it takes this community with people and money, and it gives them a place to spend it. So they come to us and they're like, here are these tokens, please accept them. And, they can buy different things. They could buy stuff from Genesis League Sports. They could buy stuff from Splinterlands. Either way, we'll be accepting their Hoop token. So hopefully what it's doing is it takes their social media universe, and it takes their token holders, and it gives them an incentive to come here. Anything else you would add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the general gist of it. There's going to be some marketing collaboration between the two companies. There's going to be some small integrations, like tokens being accepted as payment for credits, and similar. I'm sure we'll have some integrations in their game as well. But really, this is just a kind of great way for us to start expanding ecosystems. And when we look at Invenium as a whole, too, I mean, Chibi's the first kind of company that's coming on and building with the product, but over time we want to have tens, if not hundreds, of people onboarded through Invenium. And what it allows us to do is not only is that a new revenue source, so we can keep kind of reinvesting that revenue forward back into Splinterlands and other projects that we're doing, but it opens a really easy and organic lane for us to start looking at partnerships too. And over time, if we say, hey, Activision or EA or Blizzard or any of those kind of big companies that wanted to get into Web3, if they start coming on with us, then it's like, oh, hey, now we have a really easy lane to start partnering with some of these really large Web2 companies that are trying to get into the Web3 space. So all in all, I mean, I think it's a win-win. There's great marketing potential that comes out of this. We're helping new games get into the Web3 market, and by doing so actually helps expand the overall community and kind of addressable market size here. And so I think my vision behind it is the more games that are winning in the ecosystem, the more legitimacy we can build in the space, the better off that we're all going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, so we can pay for marketing, and we can pay for player acquisition, or people can pay us to like be part of our ecosystem. And this Invenium tool set lets us do the latter. It's like, pay us, we'll help you integrate all of your tokens here. All of your players will exist here. And Splinterlands is making money as we do that. And so we're like getting paid to bring players in, as opposed to spending money to bring players in. To me, it's like the smartest marketing play that we could possibly be doing. And that doesn't mean that, we should never pay and there's never a reason to do that. But here's a way that other people give us money to bring their players here. That's phenomenal. You couldn't ask for something better than that in my brain. I mean, how many ways do you find that like people pay us to market, right? Like, is that most of your experience?
Yeah, I mean, right now, when we talk about marketing with other companies, it's generally not as much of a, hey, we want to do blatant marketing for you in exchange for a dollar value. Generally, when we do that, it's marketing a illegitimate product or someone that doesn't necessarily have the user base to give back to us as well. But that being said, that's not always the case. We have things like sponsorships for Splinterfest that we did, and that was a great way of getting Web2 brands into the ecosystem and everything else there. But really, when we approach partnerships and when we look at it as a kind of mutual collaboration, what we're really trying to do is share our communities with each other, make sure that we're expanding our user base and really get new people coming into our ecosystem. Main goal with everything that we do is really getting new players in and making sure that they retain as well.
Yeah. And nothing helps them retain like having their freaking assets built on our tech stack, right? Like they're not going anywhere else. If they're playing this game and they're doing these activities, and if they're built on Invenium, if they're built literally on the Splinterlands site, or if they're built literally on the back end of Genesis League Sports, they're not going anywhere. Like their assets are there, their tokens are there. Each one of these is an incredibly sticky adoption. So, the question, Chippies is a small community and that makes them really perfect to get started with, right? Like we don't want to cut our teeth on Activision or Disney or somebody massive. We want to cut our teeth in a spot where like, okay, let's see how this goes. Let's make sure that this is smooth. Let's not, if anything screws up, that would be bad, but let's do it in a spot where the stakes aren't quite as high. And so we want Chibi to be successful. We want to help them grow. We want to help them build assets and build games and build products and do that in our ecosystem. But it's nice to start with a smaller, more manageable, platform, team, and community than like starting with the biggest thing on the planet. And so this to me is how we cut our teeth and how we kind of grow. So let's switch gears over to Splinterlands. So you talked about the sort of attribution versus retention. That seems like some deep marketing talk. So you're probably going to have to break that down. And you also have sort of SEO and ads, and you're talking about how we monetize this platform. All of those things are like really almost like marketing jargon. So let's try to do this in a way that we're explaining to people like they're five. What is it that Splinterlands is doing to attract users? What is our general philosophy? What is our general strategy? And how are we going to get more people here? Because we all sort of know that getting people here is like one of the most important things that we could be doing.
Absolutely. So attribution and retention acquisition and retention are really the two main things that we need to look at. Acquisition being getting new players into the ecosystem, retention being making sure that the new players who come into our ecosystem retain and actually stay in it for a long while. The retention side of things is, I think, one of the most plaguing points of data that we're seeing right now. So over the past 2 weeks, we've actually been going and digging up a ton of data, and really huge kudos to the data team for helping us with 1,000,001 asks. But looking at what those drop-off points are and really trying to correlate why people are churning, which is just mean they're leaving the ecosystem, and trying to correlate that to certain behavioral things. So what we essentially want to do at the end of the day is say, hey, as people come into the ecosystem, we want to start monitoring certain events that happen. And if they start exhibiting behavior that leads to churn, we want to start flagging that ahead of time to make sure that, one, we can prevent it coming through, but two, so that we can look at those users and really figure out what went wrong before they churn. So what do we need to do better? Is it education? Is it the onboarding procedures, so on and so forth? And it's going to be a myriad of different things as we look at it. But as we start to isolate each one of those different variables or different kind of things that we need to do to make sure that people are able to find good product fit, to make sure that they realize the value in the game, to make sure that they realize that there's fun in the game, that they can actually like make some kind of money in the game versus playing a Web2 game, so on and so forth there. Those are all things that we need to be very kind of conscious about as we look to the onboarding experience. And we've started looking at how we can change around the initial jump into the ecosystem, whether that was changes with the novice leagues and not being able to kind of drop back down into them, whether that's looking at bots and so on and so forth there. But we also need to really recater our onboarding experience as a whole to new users. And that's something that, I mean, is on the roadmap. We don't know when that's going to 100% be placed on the priority list. So I don't want to make any promises there. But myself, Weirdbeard, Matt, and a few other people on the team have been looking at this quite extensively to try and figure out what's going to be the best procedure when we are able to get that on the roadmap, and how do we really redefine that process. And so
do you have any preliminary data? Like, where is there anything that we know already today where I could point to and be like, when players get to this part, this is where things start going bad? Have we already found that?
Yeah, we found a couple different correlative events and actions that go on. I mean, losing the kind of first, if you lose more than 6 out of the first 10 games, like those are things that are start pointing users towards the churn kind of side of things. But I think really too, we have this very general onboarding experience right now where we're not delineating between Web2 users versus people who are already agnostic in the Web3 space versus gamers versus DeFi users. Everyone has a different use case for coming into Splinterlands, why they want to play. Some people come for the gameplay, some people come for the more tokenomic aspects in the back end. We need to figure out what that is and start catering onboarding experiences for those people around what they really want to get out of this game to help them find that kind of product fit there.
How do you tell what they want? Like, where would you get that info? Like, if somebody is at Splinterlands, how do I know that if they're a Web2 user, or like, they've been playing Gods Unchained for 10 years, or they've been doing whatever? How do you know that? Because it's not like you're on the phone with them at the time that they're signing up, and you can be like, hey man, how you doing? How'd you hear about us? You need something. How do you get that info about where they're coming from?
I like the little Canadian jargon there.
Oh, you like the little moves that you? I think that's just for you.
Yeah. I think initially what it's going to be is more of a self-identifier saying, hey, here's what I want to get out of it, or like, here's who I am. And it would probably just be one or so questions as you're really doing that whole sign up form there. But in time, I think what I would love to really be able to do is look at the behavior over the first X amount of minutes of them navigating through the platform and seeing where they really dig in. And we can actually start catering that onboarding experience based on their actions, whether that's kind of notifications saying, oh, hey, here's these new features that you haven't checked out yet, so on and so forth. But that's a huge amount of lift to be able to do that. So in the meantime, I think just having a very basic kind of A/B test going on, meaning that we're kind of just testing 50-50, like 50% of the users are getting into a very catered onboarding experience. The other 50% are just getting the regular experience right now. And then that way we can actually start testing what the difference in retention or acquisition lift is from for users to spellbooks to churn, so on and so forth there.
Yeah,
but
if you guys don't know, there's this thing called A/B testing. And A/B testing is where some users get route A, some users get route B, and you're testing. Typically, you might keep one constant and try a couple different Bs, right? You keep A the same, and here's version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4, and you find out, which one of those has the best results, and then you can switch to B, or sort of like B version 3 if that's the one that shows it's the best. So this kind of testing is almost like a really scientific methodology to marketing, that we're not throwing crap out there and hoping it works. You're doing a data-driven experience and seeing which one gets you the highest results, and then you switch to that. Did I misspeak at all?
Nope, that's perfect. And the reason that we're really trying to hone what that looks like is if we can increase our retention rate even by a couple percentages, that is the difference of what may be tens of thousands of users actually retaining in the ecosystem. We're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in revenue coming into the ecosystem and actually remaining in the ecosystem. And why that's important is it's not just, hey, Splinterlands wants to make money. No, it's if we can get people actually in the ecosystem, if we can keep our trade volumes higher, if we can do all this stuff, it has really positive effects on token value, NFT value, the amount of circulation that's going through. Like everything helps the ecosystem by and large, which is a really big thing that you just can't put enough stress on when we're talking about that. But the other reason that we look at it is right now with the current market, there's a lot of volatility. And so going out and running these multi-million-dollar campaigns and ad spends and all that stuff right now isn't super feasible just due to the diminishing returns that we were talking about. Diminishing returns meaning the more and more you spend, you may not see the exact same performance throughout. If you're saying, hey, we're getting in users for what was, I think, before the bear hit, we were getting users at $33 per paying user, so per spellbook user for ads beforehand. But after we hit a certain spend threshold, that $33 per user ended up climbing higher and higher and higher to the point where it would be $60, $70 per user. And that's as we had to branch out our targeting. So what happens is you have to cast a wider and wider net the more that you want to spend. As you cast that wider net, the people aren't going to be as interested or specialized or really just the target audience for our game. And so you end up burning a bit more from it. So we have to be super careful about that stuff. But if we can instead kind of do our internal mechanisms, everything else multiplies. So the value per customer now goes up by 3, 4, 5x as well.
Yeah, everything is so interrelated in crypto. And so, like you're saying, small tweaks in one place that, then it becomes this kind of like exponential parabolic curve where, it's not just 1 times 1, but it's like 1.05 times 1.05, and that number keeps getting bigger and bigger. I don't know. It's just, I hear you that these incremental things that we can be doing are going to be helping us. So I guess, does this start with collecting data? Does this start with testing things out? Has this already started, or like, where are we in the current, trying to maximize what we're doing with Splinterlands? Like we talked a little bit theoretically about some of the challenges and other pieces. What are we doing right now to get players in the door?
Yeah, so for players in the door right now, I mean, it's a myriad of different things. Partnerships are really starting to kick back off again. We saw WASDR, we got integrated in the Mises browser. We have a myriad of new kind of partners, whether that's questing, whether that's more just AMAs and talk and thought leadership pieces, whether that's blogs, whether that is actually getting integrations in other projects as well. Lots of stuff being worked on. Before we were having to kind of manage that off the side of our desks. Thankfully, Beth, Reality Verse Model, she is back from mat leave. Her baby is happy and healthy, and she is going to be tagging a lot of the partnerships for us. So thankfully, and super appreciative for her, she's going to be handling all the partnerships 100% going forward and taking a big stab at that. So we should see that kind of engine really start to revamp up again.
Yeah,
as far as
she's awesome.
Yeah, we all love Beth. Beth is, honestly, we couldn't speak more highly of her.
Yep.
And then SEO, we're starting to work with a whole bunch of backlinking partners as of actually this week. So really looking at kind of revamping our entire SEO process. It's going to start with backlinks, trying to raise our domain authority. For people who aren't as familiar with SEO, domain authority is really just a score out of 100. That is kind of a indicator score that's pulled from a whole bunch of core indicators that Google uses when ranking domains themselves. So when you type in fun Web3 games in your Google search browser, those super high domain authority, as well as the page authority, which is a whole separate thing we won't get into, but the better the domain authority, the easier it is to rank on the first page. And those first page rankings are really everything for organic discoverability. Why that's important too is we don't have to spend a single dollar on those rankings, and it's the best marketing you can really have there. So if you can get your SEO going, really everything else will follow, but it's the best free organic engine that you can really have out there.
And we've had problems with that, right? Because we have so much crypto on the site that we need like special landing pages, and we have to build all this crap that's specific to even let that happen.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's two main things that were really deteriorating our SEO. One is the way that the website was initially kind of coded out as one big web page. Makes it a lot harder to kind of index and hash URLs when submitting them to Google on your sitemap. The other thing is the amount of crypto. It wasn't actually on the website and the copy and everything. It was in our source code, hilariously, that Google is actually pulling and essentially negatively ranking us against. But what we want to start looking at is, hey, as we've built out the like Invenium website, if we start looking at the other kind of IP websites that we're going to talk about at the end of the section here, we realize that we can build out subdomains pretty quickly. So why can't we just build a small kind of blog or other subdomain for Splinterlands and really replicate what we're doing on Peaked and what we're doing kind of elsewhere on socials and bring it inwards? And so with that new subdomain that we want to really start building and looking at, it's going to be a great SEO engine for us. And nice thing is we're already doing all the work for the content on Peaked, so we just need to figure out how to replicate it. And yes, subdomains aren't going to be as indicative of ranking as a primary domain would be, being like a splinterlands.com versus a blog.splinterlands.com. But that being said, it's still going to be very, very, very helpful for us, and it's still going to have a great impact. So
and it shouldn't be that much work, right? Like that's not like hours and hours of Cryptomancer's time or something. That's relatively easy. That's like copy pasting, posting, not hundreds of hours of dev time.
Yeah, no, we'll own that from marketing. So what we'll do is actually probably just buy a pre-optimized theme for like a WordPress website. And then what we'll do is I'll go through, try and optimize it even more in the code, see if we can get a dev to help QA for maybe 2 hours of their time. And then after that, we can launch the website and we're good to go. Marketing will own that full on, but that should even be enough just using a kind of simple optimized WordPress website to be able to at least get a good start there. And if we see great results, then maybe we can get devs in to help kind of build a more homemade blog website. But even then, we can build a website or a WordPress website in the span of a day or two.
Okay. So a lot of that feels pretty technical, even still. And I just hope people know that like Liam's pretty damn talented at this. We're working really hard and we're doing some of the like technical marketing pieces that we need in order to sort of generate ongoing free advertising consistently across all search engines, rather than simply like spinning up one more YouTube ad that we have to pay for each time. Like we're really trying to do this in a way that is long-term and sustainable. So you're not necessarily going to see 8 million users tomorrow, but what you should see is a steady influx of free users that we didn't have to spend money on. And hopefully it's like, it's part of that flywheel cycle that, you know, once you get it going, more and more people come in. Did I describe that accurately?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really smart approach. And I know people want, you know, this is crypto, so they want 10 million users yesterday, but you know, we're not building some stupid flash in the pan hype coin. We're actually building a long-term project that we hope people are using for decades to come.
Definitely. And I think the nice thing about why new projects, which is really the last thing that we kind of want to talk about other than AC, and why that's important is, as I mentioned with Splinterlands, there's so many people that have already heard of us or had some awareness. I mean, our ads, when we've sent those out, when we were running those in the bull market, those touched over like 6 million different people that had some overlapping affinities or interests in Web3 themselves. And so when we look at 6 million people having cross-section affinities or interest in both gaming and Web3, you start hitting a lot of the crowd. And we've been running Brave ads for over a year straight now. Like, you hit a lot of those users that you're going to start seeing those diminishing returns. But when we look at GLG, when that game launches, we already have a whole bunch of the actual Major League Soccer players that are going to be doing promos for us. We have signed jerseys for giveaways. We have the actual whole MLSPA, the Players Association, that's working with us to try and secure a whole bunch of KOLs or like influencers as well, alongside the actual soccer players. So we can start getting in a ton more awareness and hype and really just new audiences that we would never be able to hit with Splinterlands. And then as we do those kind of things, we can bring them back into this ecosystem as well. But if we're going to go and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for huge names to market Splinterlands, you're probably not going to start seeing millions of people come into the ecosystem. Again, there's going to be some trade-off between how many people have already seen the game and everything else to how much we're spending to actually get users in. Whereas the new projects, we can use those as huge kind of content engines for us to get people hyped and get them in. But really it's, how do we tone the flywheel in Splinterlands, and how do we do the super hype plays for these other IPs that we're building, and then really bring them into one big amalgamated ecosystem at the end of the day?
So what are those other things? I think they're goals, and I think they're tower defense. Are there others that you're talking about as well, or are those the main two?
Those are the main two. We have Invenium, and then the last one that I guess we haven't mentioned that you kind of briefly touched on is Arcade Colony, which is going to be this huge new ecosystem that's going to be looking to be built. And I think that's going to be the focal point when we talk about amalgamating all these ecosystems together. That's the platform that's going to help us do it. And so, Egg, I don't know if you want to maybe touch on Arcade Colony.
I want to give like a little bit of vision. So as we wanted to upgrade and update Splinterlands, and we wanted something where we could do a white label version where other people could build here. And that became this thing called Invenium. And we're like, okay, well, Invenium's neat, but you really need a demonstration so that people know what the hell this is, what it looks like. You can't just like have a backend sort of floating in the universe. You got to put it to use. So we built Genesis League Sports, and we made that partnership with MLSPA. And we said, all right, we're going to get this game out. It's going to be called Goals, and we're making our first game. And in the process of doing that, it was not really like an intentional thing that we were doing, but in the process of doing that, we realized, like, in part because we were like, hey, we want other people building here. We started having talks with Unity and developers at Unity and professionals at Unity. And we realized, oh, the tech stack that we have right now, not with any additional changes, just the things that we've already been working on, it would allow people that have built browser-based games in Unity to build on top of this tech stack. And so I know users are very, very interested in us. Like our players now, our community members, our Mavs right now are all very interested in how are we going to get more players, and all the things that Liam has been talking about, of the SEO, of the optimizations, of finding new players, of isolating that experience to make sure that we tweak the retention higher. All of those things I think are really good. The piece in my brain that I think would be the biggest thing that we could do is start finding games that already have large audiences and bringing them into Web3. And for browser-based games, most of them are built in Unity. Something like 70% of them are built in Unity. And so we really have this amazing tech stack that already works with Unity, and that we're testing these things out. So like the project with Chibi Dinos, that's really one of the first examples where we can be like, they built a game in Unity. How can we start integrating them? The first project that we're going to do is like a super low level lift. All we're doing is we're building a directory page listing, and we're putting in an iframe. From a tech point, that's about as small of a project as you could possibly do. In some of these other places, we're looking at getting Web3 game developers to build new games so that we can get some experience doing that. And then we're also looking at bringing in games that already exist. One in particular has something like 60 to 100 million downloads already. And they're thinking about, they want to build here. They want to build using this tech stack, and they're trying to figure out how does it work. And we're sort of sharing the details of this platform called Arcade Colony, which is really just a fork of the Genesis League system. You know, it's not, we're not like developing, you know, and putting billions of man hours on this thing. It's like, it's the same kind of tech stack. It's the same tool, but now it's meant for all video games. And the idea is that we get to go out and we say, hey, you have this sweet Web 2 game. Would you like to make it a Web 3 game? And they say yes. And we're like, okay, let's go introduce your 10 million downloads to this platform. And this platform is where they can have their tokens, where they can have their NFTs, where they can literally build everything on the Web 3 side. And, you know, at some point they might do this someplace else, and I would prefer they didn't. I would prefer that they choose to do it here. And a lot of them are very nervous about scale. You know, if you have 60 million downloads and you're like, hey, it seems like Ethereum can only do 1.2 million transactions per day, that doesn't give us a lot of wiggle room. something like the platform we've built, where we've been able to handle billions of transactions, is actually really appealing. So, we're not having to build 8 billion like new pieces of code. This code largely already exists. We're forking an existing platform. We're making it so that games of all types can come here. And if this works like I think it's going to work, and what we're already seeing happening, people will pay us to be here. And rather than us paying to go acquire users, they will pay us to be acquired. And I think that's massive. And I think not everybody in Mav chat kind of gets that. I think not everybody understands what we're working on. There's a little one of these, chatter. I'm not sure if you're even on the loop on this, because it's pretty tiny. But there's a company in LOAC which has made something like a Pokemon Go style game, and they're integrating Splinterlands assets into it. And it's a Unity-based thing, and we're building APIs, and it's not like a big project, but that's on the Splinterlands side of things. We're doing the exact same kind of thing. Here's a Unity-based game. Let's go bring it into Splinterlands. And these first ones aren't going to make a giant dent, and they're not designed to. I don't really want to test this with hundreds of millions of users. I want to test this on really small ecosystems and make sure that nothing breaks, and that we provide a good experience, and whatever tweaks we need to do to our system to make this work well goes smoothly. But that second round, probably sometime in Q4, when we're bringing on bigger and bigger projects, the projects that we'll be bringing on are like tens of millions of downloads. And if I could replicate that over and over and over again, I can, you can't walk into a major city and throw a stick without hitting like a different dev shop, right? Like every major city has these things now, and they all build these games, and there's millions of apps, and we just need to find some of those apps that want to build in Web3 and like the tech stack that we have, and bring them here. And every time that we do that, we'll have more users, we'll have more revenue, we'll have more opportunities, we'll have more things pointing, like marketing pointing at this ecosystem, and I think it helps us grow. And the sort of like central hub of all of that, Splinterlands isn't a match to like take every single piece of intellectual property and bring it in here, but Arcade Colony can be. And I think that's a way that we focus not so much on game building, but on bringing other games here. And I think that's where we're going to get all of these people and bring them into this ecosystem. So I don't know that the Mavs understand that. I don't know that the players understand it. It's sort of a little bit under wraps as we've been trying to figure this out. But that Chibi Dinos announcement is really one of the first integrations that will get live, and it just starts with a simple little directory listing. But hold on to your hats, guys, because this kind of tech is going to spiral drastically as we nail it down, as we get comfortable with it, as we get the documentation so that the other guys can come in. We got John Monahan out there meeting every single like Web 2 game studio that he can find, and talking to folks. And I really think from all the conversations we're having, they are starved for this, and they're looking for an easy way. Like I was talking to one group, and they were saying something like, I spend 50% of my time now doing Web3 development, maybe even as much as 80% of my time, and only really 20% of the time on my game. And I was like, well, that's a giant problem. You shouldn't have to be doing all that crap. If you use our platform, you're going to pay a little bit of money, but you can stick something like 95% of your time on your game development, where you're actually going to make money, and only do something like 5% of your time on these kind of integrations and other things. So anyways, I hope that you guys are excited for this, bringing other games and bringing other communities and bringing other people here. It's going to be pretty freaking awesome. And it's going to give you more ways to entertain yourselves, more ways to interact. And I think it's pretty exciting. Do you think I missed anything with that description?
No, I think that was perfect. I see some other people just in the chat wondering how this is going to affect Splinterlands and everything else. I don't know if we want to talk just about how the tokens will work separately, or if we want to leave that for another day, but it's going to be pretty separate as far as like SPS, as well as like the Arcade Colony tokens and all that integration goes.
Yeah, I mean, it'll likely start with a it'll likely start with some airdrops to go out to SPS holders. That's sort of a thank you guys for helping to put this thing together. And then, you know, it lives somewhat separately, but keep in mind what we built is a single sign-on experience so that every single player that comes in for, you know, if it's a baseball game or a basketball game that's over on Genesis League, or if it's a, you know, space shooting game or some, you know, casino games that are over on Arcade Colony, it's the same login. It's the exact same way that you'll sign in to Splinterlands. And so I think it's every single user that we bring in, it's a lot easier to cross market and help bring everybody else's users to our ecosystem. And I think that'll help you guys along with this. So I can already see FUD and I can already see nervousness. To me, it's one of the most exciting parts of this whole project is I want to bring in users by the tens of millions, and I want them to pay me instead of me pay them. And this entire project, this entire process, I think allows that. So, you know, it's not going to be in May. It's not going to be in June. It's probably not even going to be in July. But sometime by the end of this year or the beginning of next, we'll have the ability to onboard, you know, projects with tens of millions of downloads and do that, you know, in a relatively short period of time, like a month or less, and help them bring their game from Web 2 to Web 3 and do it here. And if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. You know, some of the Salt Lords might be beyond saving at this point, but they're still here. So I'm going to assume that they're hopefully excited about this. And to me, it's one of the biggest and most badass things that we could be doing because rather than paying to get people here, they're going to pay us. And it's going to be, you know, hopefully, you know, 10 million download project at a time is what this will look like. Rivals is saying, can we talk a little bit about tower defense? So let's do a quick update on goals and tower defense. You know, just get something in there so the people can know.
Yeah, so for tower defense, we are closing on full launch right now. Weirdbeard, maybe in your section, you can kind of talk about it a little bit too, just knowing that you've been kind of communicating with Double Coconut, who's the company that's helping us build the game. But we did get a whole bunch of gameplay footage late last week, I think on Thursday or Friday. I am actually meeting with Weirdbeard tomorrow to start touching up all that video, and we'll hopefully have that live for you guys by probably Thursday, Friday this week to share. But that'll be covering some new towers, enemies, so on and so forth there for the actual mechanics and gameplay. And otherwise, I think we're just really getting close to launch here, building on kind of the beta and trying to get everything else live. So I think that's kind of the next big step for us. Weirdbeard, is there anything else to add on the tower defense side?
I mean, there's some. I'll cover it in mine.
Okay, perfect. And then for GLG, things are really progressing well there. The marketplace just got launched live. We're working towards the beta launch of the game. We're thinking probably this time-ish next month, we're going to start seeing some more gameplay actually playable for the players, which is awesome to hear and see. And then as far as actual gameplay footage and everything else goes, I mean, every single week we're putting out new stuff there. So make sure that you're joined in the Discord for Genesis League goals, which I will drop here in 1 second for you guys. All the different sprint reviews and different stuff that we're working on bi-weekly when we post our new sprints. We get all the notes out for what we're working on every single time in the Discord there.
Yeah, June is definitely another Brawlhalla where like they eat, they code, they die, and they come back and do it again tomorrow. You know, it's going to be brutal because we have tower defense that's going live, we have land that's going live, and we have goals that's going live. And then there's other updates as well. Maybe even validators go live. There's like live on the private net. There's just like a ton of things that are happening. So it's going to be a monster. But you know, that's what we're built for. We're going to handle it. And as daunting as it is, it's also going to be completely amazing to go sort of launch all these things and send them into reality. You know, I know a lot of people were like, pre-sale, I hate you. Pre-sale, I hate you. Well, now all of those things we're delivering them, and the key delivery date is June. Okay. I think that's all that I wanted to talk about for marketing. Is there anything else that was on your radar that you wanted to get out there?
That's it for me.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you. If you guys don't understand that the plan here is ultimately going to allow us to bring in millions of users, chunks at a time, and do that with relatively minimal lift while they pay us. If you still think that things sound stupid or dumb or bearish or bad, I don't know what to tell you. I'm as excited about this project as I could possibly be. And I think a lot of the community members are just absolutely nuts. Okay. So let's move on from there. We got ourselves a Brawlhalla. We have ourselves a Weirdbeard. And I'm definitely with the questions are going to be short. I probably don't have time for the Q&A today, but I needed a lot of time with Liam and being able to just talk through that. Weirdbeard, what's on your brain? I mean, we got a million different things that we're trying to deliver, tons of work to get there. Like what's burning a hole in your priority list?
I mean, like you said, I have 3 main things that like I'm focused on right now. Now that we have the promo card up available for people to be able to go purchase right now, we essentially have validators, we have land 1.5, and we have some of the like bug cleanup stuff that we're getting through, things that have been kind of outstanding to set us up to be able to really work on the things that we're excited to work on, including, like you mentioned earlier, hopefully some mobile development and seeing what we're doing with that.
Okay. Well, walk it through us. What dive in, do the thing.
Okay. Well, like a lot of it right now, that we're going through, we have some PayPal stuff that we've been working through. We're really focused on being able to fix bugs and stuff that have been outstanding that have a large user experience error. We're even going through and fixing some of the battle engine stuff to where after like a monster would die and then come back, sometimes certain effects would persist after death, other ones wouldn't. We originally started out with snare, which had wonky abilities, like the way that it was applied, but it actually applied to a whole bunch of different abilities. So we've been going through and digging into those, which is a really gnarly, weird, frustrating experience because there's some things where you're like, well, it should work like this, and then other things it doesn't work like that. Why doesn't it do that? We're also still working on the very unsexy tech modernization and getting some of the things like the collection pages and card detail screens and things like that brought up to from our old system to our new one, because again, the way that we really want to be able to tackle having a good functional mobile website and eventually app, hopefully, is by having everything on these vNext pages, right? That way it works the same way on vNext or on desktop as it does on mobile. So we're really making sure that we we take care of those, because it's a lot of groundwork that we're having to lay for coming up after June. Again, we have in there the validators should be going up for release. Land 1.5, we've gotten through the region view, essentially, like looking at how everything looks from the high level, and now we're doing the lower level screens and all the kinds of fun stuff that it takes from, like, hey, I have grain, I want to do something with it, how do I do that? Like that's all the stuff that's sort of being worked on right now and allowing people to be able to stake cards once Land 1.5 does release. And we also have a few other things that are outstanding that we're going to be getting out of the way, such as some guild work, some new guild buildings, one-click set rentals, and it's going to set us up for this June, June, I don't even know, like Festivus, where we release all the problems we've been working on for the past couple of months and go do something else.
Yeah, it's nuts. June is going to go kill us all. I mean, nobody's going to see it because it's, they're just going to see release after release, but
yeah,
it's just freaking. June is everything for this business. It's like everything that we as a company have been working on, for whatever reason, it all comes out in June.
Yeah, and I mean, not only does it come out, but it's like that's just Splinterland stuff. We've talked about it probably 3 town halls in a row now, where it's GLX coming out with new gameplay right at the beginning of June. You're looking at tower defense towards the end of June. You're looking at some new stuff really starting to take off. It's just all it's ramping, which is a kind of anxiety inducing experience, but at the same time, we've made really good progress on stuff for the past couple of months, so I'm not too worried.
Yeah, when we get out of June, I think we get a little bit of breath. Maybe not infinite. We still have that kind of outstanding mini set thing too. I know players are anxious about that, but it'll be a couple months away, and only after kind of Land 1.5 comes out. So I don't know, that to me is kind of this other thing with like maybe a movie studio is involved and not tons of cards, but some cards. And I know people aren't like dying to hear that, but I do think that after Land comes out and there's a giant sink for cards, and then we start getting these partnerships, and if we get like a little wind behind our back with Bitcoin picking up steam too, that could be really exciting for us. My job is not to like look at today, where are we going to be today, and what do I do because of today? It is what's coming. What do I see a couple months down the road? Where do we need to be positioned for that, and how do I make sure that we get there? And it's hard enough to do that on like a daily basis, but doing that 3 months out in this market is pretty wild. But so far I got a plan. The plan is don't release the full rebellion. We're still not in a good enough spot in the market that would make any kind of sense. We also got to get Land out, so there's lots of utility for all these cards. But it is on the horizon, and I know some people might get cranky, some people might be excited, but I don't want to miss that's something that is a partnership, and hopefully something with a lot of promise that is on the radar. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of these things. I guess some of that is like future facing. I just said I'm not here to talk about today, but I think that's a lot of what you're doing, because you're like literally right in the weeds of today.
Yes.
What else is coming out? What else is coming?
I mean, I'm very not torn, but like, have you ever like been on a diet and then come off a diet and you're trying to decide on your first cheat food, where there's like so many options that are tantalizing, and you just want to eat it all, but you can't, right? Because it's going to make you sick. And that's sort of where I'm at for post June, right? Like, we have a lot of things that we've talked about internally, and we've started really planning and being ready to execute on. And now we're like at the precipice, right? Like, you're finally about to be baby bird jumping from the nest. And I'm excited because I think one of the big ones that was talked about earlier is like, dude, Battles 2.0 is on the I personally want it to be there, right? I think that when we talk about platforming and bringing in new games to our general ecosystem and in our orbit and whatnot, that we really have to be conscious of how are we competing, not just from a tokenomics perspective, but also from a gameplay perspective, right? Gameplay and Battles 2.0 doesn't have a tangible like, hey, we do X amount of worth of work and we get Y amount of dollars back, right? But you also have it to where, hey, how many players are turned off in that early retention, like Chatter was talking about? How many times are people coming in really excited, but then we lose them 2, 3, 4 days in because they just can't get a handle of what's going on? So I think if we're talking about fixing our SEO, we also have to talk about, really heavily taking time and this is in my brain what I want to do. I want to have like a Fortnite release. And when I say this, it's not actually doing like the Fortnite thing, but when Fortnite revolutionized AAA gaming, right? They did it through consistent large season drop updates, to where right now we do like weekly updates and we trickle. And even if we're building to like Land 1.5, right? We do small content updates along the way that are on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Well, Fortnite, the way that they and a lot of other live service or games as a service titles do it now, is that they go and work on something for 2, 3, 4 months, right? And they sit on it and they don't release anything. And then when they do, it's like, boom, a huge marketing bomb, right? Because they release all kinds of new things. And it's not just like, hey, we did this cool update. It's dope, but in a vacuum, it's not that crazy. But when you do it and pair it along with 4 or 5 other really like medium sized things, it makes a large bang for your buck. So being able to talk about things like Battles 2.0, being able to talk about new player tutorials, about training grounds with an improved practice mode, being able to talk about tournament league locks, being able to talk about a new game mode that activates, a different kind of play, so that even if you're a master of the regular ranked play, giving players a different option to be able to go and engage with when they don't want to play ranked play. I think that like stuff like this is going to be huge if we can not only do it in the right way of doing like this big packaged release, but also again doing those things that are going to increase our player retention and make it so that we can attack our overall like game economy, so that it's happy, healthy, and wide, meaning that it's not just a very heavy on one side or the other. It's everybody is, interacting in the community and the economy at a fairly regular pace, and makes it like broad and healthy.
That sounds like something different than we've been doing. It's certainly worth exploring and trying and seeing, what comes out of this. You and I are meant to go talk pretty soon. I think it's
Yeah,
literally after this thing of
it
like,
is.
what's post June Splinterlands look like, right? Because we all have our marching orders through June. We got to get Land 1.5 out, and
Yeah.
there's some other projects along with that. But then the question is, what do we do after that? And that's exactly the kind of stuff that we need to kind of hammer out, so that starting is it in May? When are we doing the Crucible? I need Liberty Lash around here to keep my head straight.
It's the end of this month, so like
Yeah, so
another 20 days, if
yeah,
that.
we got like 20 days to go figure out what exactly are we doing after in this next age, or the next 5 2-week sprints. We got another 2.5 months of code. We're gonna kind of lock it in place. What are we working on? What are the priorities? We got to figure that out. Get it spec'd and ready. And hopefully at the beginning of June, we can tell you these are the things that are about to roll out, and these are the things that we're working on. I don't know, June, July, August. So somewhere in August and September, we'll have some other big, like, here's the big release, and here's the things that we've worked on. And we'll be able to tell you what should be in that, by the beginning of June. But I know the players are always wondering, what are you guys working on? What is it going to be? We're kind of locked and loaded until June, but, and we're right now on the planning stages of what comes after. And it's some mix of, how do we make this game look better? How do we improve the new user experience? How do we get new game modes in there? How should we tweak the economy? How do we make sure that the players are engaging with each other as much as humanly possible? What new guild buildings can we do? There's like a million different projects that we could do, but we got to narrow down what do we think is the most important stuff for us to be working on, taking account what the business needs, taking account what the players need, taking into account our 3 pillars of community, economy, and gameplay, and putting together a plan, vetting it with everybody else, and saying, all right, here's what we're going to do. And that's literally what we're in the throes of, like, today.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the top 3 right now. Top 3 are cosmetics avatar system. Number 2 is most likely an arena run or game mode that's alternate from ranked play. And the third is new player onboarding tutorials. All of those are a direct correlation to maybe not we do this thing and get X amount of dollars back out of the machine or whatever. But what it does is it fixes a lot of the problems that we have with not only retention, but increases value of the stuff that we're already doing, right? Like it's less about like it earns us money, but it makes the things that we do more effective in how we bring those new players in, right? Land is great. Land has all kinds of economic benefits, and it's very important for the company. But then it speaks to a specific group of players that they've already gotten over the hump. They've already been indoctrinated into the system. So instead, trying to find some of those things that bolster it because like we're losing people on step 2. And if we start losing people on step 4, 5, 6, like later in the process, it's a harder thing for them to fall off the wagon. So those are the things that I think are going to be the easiest kind of like biggest bang for our buck type of a thing, and then working on Battles 2.0, lots of UX UI overhauls, making sure everything looks good, and making the player navigation of the website better. Because if we're able to do that, it's going to be, it brings them all together, I guess.
Yeah, and Nate's been talking about cosmetics forever, and but not just like, hey, let's launch dumb cosmetics. It's been like, how do we do this systematically that's good, that works for like the forever life of Splinterlands? So it sounds like we're gonna get better to that.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I think that finding the number one thing that we can do that's going to make people happy in this game is find a way to become less of an events company, right? Like having big events that are you have to build the like tent pole around, right? So we have like Chaos Legion, and it goes way up, but then we're waiting for Chaos Legion, and then it keeps going until our next big event, right? If we can find these small consistent content updates that also provide ways for people to support the company monetarily through much smaller microtransactions and smaller purchases. So instead of being like, hey, everybody, you have to come out with $500 every couple of months, how about it's more people spending $20 every month on cosmetics, or a battle pass, or a new game mode that costs money to be able to enter. You do all those things, that it makes it so that more people participate in the economy. And as we've known from just like real life, when more people participate in an economy, it's healthier and better for players overall, and it's
Rock
good for
on.
us as a company.
Okay. There's a ghost tournament that I think you want to talk about, and then I want to bring on Nate. Is there anything other than the ghost tournament?
No, I will just mention real quick. We had a really great turnout for the Harbinger. I always call it a Harbinger. The Harbinger tournament that we did the previous week. We're gonna have another one that's actually being created today. So make sure to go enter into a ghost card tournament happening on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's only a couple of, I think it's like 3 SPS, 4 SPS to be able to enter, and all kinds of awesome prizes. So we'll see you there.
Rock on. All right. Thanks, Weirdbeard. Appreciate your time. Let's go over to Nate, and let's talk about what eye candy we got. What's give us a creative update. What's going on in creative?
No, I think a lot of what was discussed thus far is stuff that creative has their fingers and toes in a lot of different things. There's a lot of balls in the air that we juggle well in advance before we talk about it in a town hall, and that holds true for this stuff here. But so when it comes to Splinterland specific stuff, then I would say that land is definitely at the forefront. Although, yeah, we have a lot of other stuff we're working on, which we'll talk about at another time. Something that got brought up just now was like cosmetics and stuff. So I know that for a while now we've been trying to set the foundation for preparing for what's to come, in the next age or the next quarter or later on in the year, and we want to make that as successful as possible. If you think about what can be accomplished within like a quarter in a 3-month period, knowing that, well, okay, you need at least a month for to hand over all the assets to the devs so that they can do something with all the art and the animation stuff. That means that if we try to squeeze it all in a quarter in a 3-month period, then that means really creative only has like a 2 months to work on that stuff. And then when you think about just how long it could take to conceptualize and then figure out how stuff works and the UX of it all, and everything in between, before you get to the assembly line part of things, before you got it all worked out, what you want to do, how you want to do it, the pipeline, and then you get people working like clockwork. Before you get to that point, it can be very time consuming to figure out, like, well, what are we doing, guys? And not just logistics wise, but creatively speaking. So that being said, yes, creative works way in advance. So it could be like 6 months, it could be a year before something gets launched that creative is trying to figure that stuff out. So definitely some of the stuff you guys talked about, yes, creative is kind of already working on it. Something that is exciting is what's already been released. I think Zerial, the promo card, if you guys don't have one yet, it hasn't even been a week yet since the shop page went up, and yet I think we're approaching a third of all Zerial cards in existence have been sold. We're getting close to that point. So I'm wondering if the promotion will even last a month. I guess we'll see, because I noticed that on Twitter and blog posts and everything, people who actually have the card are very excited about the strategies and the
She seems to be
gameplay.
kicking quite a lot of ass.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a lot of these, and I'm like, a lot of the cheap support cards you can then turn into like power attack cards, like and when you're gifting something like 4 ranged attack to your neighbor, like that's a lot of value that you are suddenly adding to 2 separate cards. I mean, that you're taking essentially like 2 mana cards and giving them something that's would be the value of something like a 7 mana card. And to me, it's pretty powerful.
No, for sure. And when you think about the no attack cards that suddenly can attack, and you think about the different combat rules, I mean, there are no attack cards that have a very high speed, and other no attack cards that have very low speed. And so any way you want to strategize or figure it out, there's a use case for this card, and it's a pretty powerful one. So that's been exciting. So to celebrate, how far we've come with the promo and how things are going. This is an example of creative working well in advance. It's kind of like before Battles 2.0 comes around, which who knows when that's going to be. Will that be at the end of the year? Will it be next year? Will it be sooner? Will it be later? I don't know, but creative is preparing for when it does happen. Same thing with skins and cosmetics. So for example, when she gets to attack and we animate her attacking, then this is some of the concept art for like, okay, what is that going to look like? So same thing with like, okay, what if Zerial has a skin someday, a cosmetic, a special, to kind of like reflect her origins and her lore and her narrative, then, she might end up looking something like this. So there's all kinds of cool stuff that creative gets to work on before it gets launched into the game. But let's talk about something sooner, which would be LAN 1.5. We talked about how our target is end of June to try to get LAN 1.5 out there. We're going to try very hard to meet that goal. And in doing so, we are working very hard on trying to figure out the UX of it all. How the heck is this going to work? How do we make this make sense? How do we make it intuitive? It's extremely challenging. But while the design team is trying to figure that out, in parallel, in conjunction, while they're doing that, the art team is hard at work trying to visualize that. Like, what are you going to see? Maybe it's not the HUD overlay on top, but the art underneath is just as important. I think just now with Weirdbeard, you guys were talking about just, you got the tokenomics, and that's very important. And then you got the gameplay, which a lot of people associate with visuals. And of course, I'm going to get excited about that. Of course, I want players to feel engaged and feel emotionally invested in their interaction with the game. So that means art and animation and music and sound effects and all the rest. So I'll give you guys a sneak peek at what we're calling the work sites. For those of you guys who've read the white paper for LAN 1.5, you realize that you will be given the opportunity to choose how you want to utilize your plot. Do you want to use it to produce SPS? Do you want to use it to produce grain? Or do you want to use it to produce research? And all three will have their pros and cons, and it's up to you as a player to figure out what makes sense for you. But visually speaking, this is what they might end up looking like. And so here's an example of what your plot might look like with a grain work site actively on it. And here is what it might look like if you are trying to mine SPS. So there's that. And here's finally what you might be looking like if you are of a more scholarly sort and you're more interested in research. So there's some visual sneak peeks for those of you. Alex and Madi kind of helped conceptualize and tag team that. Mostly Alex did the rendering and the painting, and she's an awesome concept and environment artist on the team. And I think, yeah, that's what I got. I want to leave at least a little time left for
We need to
in
get to
case you want to
questions.
answer any questions.
Yeah, I got to do some of that for sure. I really like that SBS building. I think that looks particularly sweet. But yeah, I just hope that the players know we're getting, land and land 1.5 has been sort of one of the biggest pushes for this company. And we're going to get to a good spot in June, which lets us do some other things for a little bit. We can let land kind of build and Matt can kind of plan out 2.0 in the background. And, I think this stuff is going to, this is one of the next big, you're looking for things that are going to have a major impact in the game. Land 1.5, we're about a month away. I'd say we're like 4 weeks, give or take 3 weeks. And we're getting there, right? So I think it's going to have a huge impact. I'm really excited for it. I'm personally, going to take off the majority of my monsters from the rental pools. I'm going to go put them into mining SBS and getting research and getting grain. So I'll be off doing that. And I imagine some of the other whales are going to be doing that too. So kudos. This stuff is looking awesome. Excited to see where this goes. And I don't know. We're not long from now. We just got to keep cranking this out. And I know that there's other things that the players are looking forward to, particularly game modes. Well, sometime after June, we can start looking into all that. So,
definitely.
Nate, this stuff is looking great. You've done a wonderful job assembling a fantastic team to help build all this stuff. And thanks for bringing your passion and your creativity here.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, let's go to the questions that players have already submitted. So the first question, and I'm going to try to fly through these because I know that there's some salty Mavs that want to get some questions in, and I'll see if I can't fit some of that in. Partnerships, what is up with Chibi Dinos? Looking for more info on the partnership. Thanks. We talked about that some already on the town hall, but the first part of that is they have a game. It works in Unity. It's called Primal Hoop. And we're basically just giving a destination page for that so that people can find that and check it out. And later on, we'll do some more stuff with Chibi, and there's more things to do with basketball and them. But, for right now, it's just we're building a directory listing and we're helping their players and their community find their game. Bot proposal. I don't own a bot, but if I did, when the proposal passes and I'm using XBot, could I manually check off the Cloudflare box and then let the bot continue doing its work for me? So I have to be present at the time of playing, but it would still bot for me. Would that work? I don't know until we get into the depth of this. We're going to see what the Cloudflare detection can and can't do. But I don't have an answer for that right this second.
I would also add that just Cloudflare as it stands on its own is not the only thing that we would also look at internally as a development team. If bots are not in a certain area, we would probably need to support it in addition to other things internally if, as Matt said, the test period goes well.
Land, is there any chance that additional bonuses on lands will be given to certain specific cards? I don't know that we have plans on doing that internally, but it wouldn't shock me if the DAO or players came together and said, we really want this card to get a bonus. Sort of thinking about the Rusty Android in particular, but we'll see. Suggestions and feedback. Could we please get a few more tools for guild officers? For example, blocking DEC contribution from guild members to buildings chosen by officers, an ability to see brawling statistics for every guild member, make a decision about fray assignments, knowing which member performs better in a certain fray. Any thoughts on that, Weirdbeard?
Yeah, I'd love to, along with the rest of the things on the wish list. Doing some guild, I think some of the biggest issues with guilds, as we saw from when we did that large guild survey, people want the ability to find out players who are looking to join guilds or guilds that have spots open. If, hey, I'd like to play these kinds of frays. We would like to have overall battle fray statistics because it's now housed on Discord that you have to leave the game ecosystem. We have lots of tools that we're looking at for eventual guild members and leaders, but unfortunately we just have got to get through all the stuff that's coming in June. Then we have some of the other projects that are coming right after that. So I hope sooner rather than later. But I can't give a time frame, unfortunately, on when that would happen.
Do you think there's not enough incentive for guilds to go to tier 5? There are a few guilds with level 9 arena, but they're still battling in tier 4.
It's not
Uh,
about it's not about incentive. After the reworks and everything, they move like globs, right? Like there has to be enough reason for enough guilds to all jump to the next tier spot, because otherwise the like prisoner's dilemma is it's worse to take like third in the next highest tier than it is to know for sure that you're going to take first in the one below. So you have to have enough guilds all move up at the same time. I don't think it's about incentives. I could be wrong. I could be an idiot, but just from what's been explained to me,
yeah,
that's the thinking behind it.
this just feels like an initialization process. I don't like if 4 months from now we still don't have anybody in tier 5. Okay, fine, we'll look at it. But for right now, it just seems like people are grinding their way up, and they don't just want to be like the one lone person in tier 5. So
Exactly.
we'll get there. Promo cards offer a unique and exciting gameplay experience, and quest battles could be a powerful tool for maximizing their marketing potential. Have you considered implementing quest battles into the game, specifically designed to highlight the unique abilities, design, and story of promo cards? Yeah, like
Yes.
focus system is kind of broken, right? Like we don't
Yes.
like the focus system. We want to change the focus system, and that focus system will be updated and hopefully be more fun. Anything you want to add to that, Weirdbeard?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the underpinnings of a battle pass come from fixing the focus system and implementing a new quest system. And, I can tell you, Nate and team and the creative team, they're dying to be able to do like story-based chapters so that, we don't have to put out whole game modes, but we can put out little baby chunks that allow people to go and purchase it and get a specific experience and have it relate to lore and in-game story building stuff. But again, like until we fix the base underlying retention problems of like new players getting into the game and sticking, doing all that high level stuff is just talking to the same players that we already have. We need to make it so that we can get new players in and have them stick farther than 7 days.
When they switched to Soulbound, this is a long one. This is like a big thing. When the switch to Soulbound rewards was made, it was with the understanding that at some point in the future there would be a DEC sync or a dark energy crystal sync to make them unbound. The ability to use them to farm land is exploitable and has a net negative impact on all purchased cards that badly need the land sync to soak up the supply. There are already large landholders farming up these rewards cards to use on land, which essentially allows them to not have to own or purchase the cards that will earn on land. Even if this changes at some point in the future, launching Land 1.5 and allowing soulbound cards to earn on land is going to be exploited, and it makes the most sense to do so. So if I can use cards I don't have to pay for to get the same results on land while still playing with my own cards, it's more return with less cost, but at the expense of everyone else in the reward pool and at the expense of the value of all owned cards. If the team will not change this, will you honor a proposal to restrict soulbound cards from being used on land until they can be unbound? This could be done by allowing cards to be unbound before 1.5 starts, or by restricting them until some point in the future where they can be unbound. I feel like this has the potential to be Ghost Cards 2.0 as far as a rewards drain, and it needs to be taken seriously before implementation. I think the real short question that they're actually answering is, if the team will not change this, will you honor a proposal to restrict soulbound cards from being used on land until they can be unbound? And frankly, I think Matt is leaning in the same direction. I'm more neutral on it. I don't. I know that there's a bunch of reward cards being printed, but they're still soulbound and they'd still be used on your land. And land is still just in phase 1.5. As we get further into land, I imagine that there's even more ways that you have to use it. And when we get into things like boss fights and everything else that's coming, there's more DEC staking and more card staking that's going to be necessary. So, I don't really see it being that big of a deal, but happy if players want it, and particularly if Matt or others make some proposal. I have no problem supporting that as long as, we get a super majority of users that say that's the right way to go. Anybody have thoughts on that?
Yes, the only thing I would caution is there is a lot of theory crafting that happens in this community that they tend to move quicker than we can, and not necessarily in a good way, right? Like in the time between Land 1.0 releasing and Land 1.5 releasing, I think doing any proposals is kind of putting the cart before the horse, and the fact that things haven't released yet. Staking isn't live. If staking does become live and this is an issue or has not been addressed or even talked about or thought through, then yeah, then let's do a proposal. But before Land 1.5 is released, I just don't want idle hands are the devil's playthings, you know, like just because Land 1.5 isn't here yet, we really should not start tinkering with it quite yet, I believe, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, fortunately, it's not always just up to us. It's up to this whole community.
Yep.
And if the community agrees with you, great. And if they don't, that's okay. It's not that I don't think it's going to be that much work to allow or exclude soulbound reward cards from land. So, I know lots of people would like to see it happen. I know lots of people would not. Currently, the way it stands is that they are allowed. So in order for us to go change that, I think that's going to take I think that'll take a vote. I'm not sure that it's absolutely necessary that we take a vote, but generally we want to go in step with what the players want, unless there's something that's like a major game breaking piece to this. So definitely think that this is a proposal thing, as opposed to just Splinterlands is going to do this on a whim. Okay, so what I'd like to do, let's go open this up to questions. We're really going to have just 5 minutes. So ask your question, and then if I think it's reality that's opening it, let's close it right away too, because we only have 5 minutes for questions. Because I got meetings immediately after this, and with Weirdbeard in particular. So let's see. Put your questions in. Daru is asking, the issues happening in Hive delays renting we had a few months ago, do we expect it to come back when GLG is fully ongoing or after the new Dino thing? No, I don't think those things are related. That shouldn't be a problem. And if it is, then Investigator will fix it because he's awesome. Dishonesty is asking, if someone would propose to cut rewards for alpha only tournaments by 75% and use the saved amount to create some kind of reward pool to be used at Splinterland's discretion, by Splinterland's discretion, I mean, as a way to fund battles for future developments of the game, would you vote for it? Weirdbeard said something about 2v2 tag team, boss fights, achievements, battle pass. These activities should get rewarded. We need a funding source. I don't know. I'd have to go see. Like there are things that are like DEC syncs that I'm always going to vote yes on. And mostly I would like to see what the community wants. I don't have a strong personal take on that. So I would rather let the community deal with it. What's your take on the latest market fee proposal? In your opinion, what are the chances for this proposal to transform peak monsters into a veritable monopoly? I don't think that it would turn them into a monopoly. I'm fairly neutral on the market fee. I think it's good if some amount is going to the DAO. The DAO is sort of like a sink for DEC, so I'm pretty good with it. But ultimately, that's another one where I think, is this what the players want? If the players want it, I will help and support it and make sure that it happens. If it's not, then, I'm not here to force it. But personally, I do think it's good, and it's better than what we're currently doing. And, if the markets were to come back and say this is ruining everything, or if it really screws with everything, all right, we could go transform it somehow differently so that it's more fair. What's happening with the decks for rental on Nifty Arcade? We got to get them back on the show. So Rondon, if you could just take a note, we should get Nifty here and they can go answer those questions. Marco is asking, what sort of vetting process does Splinterlands, like minimum SBS stake, etc., for project that want to build using the Invenium tech? How does Splinterlands insulate itself from rug pulls and scams that could hurt the Splinterlands brand? Yeah, that's a little bit long for this and a little bit early for this, but we'll put out marketing that explains all that in the not too distant future. When SBS staked on players, and any ideas when the minimum requirements of SBS staked for different leagues? So I saw the work by Matt, and I agreed with it. I thought he had a really nice plan for that. So it's just kind of like, when can Matt get a proposal together, and when can we actually build it? So staking is somewhere around the corner, and it's not super far. I've already seen the math, and I think it's actually really freaking clever. Whenever you need to punt a question to the following week, would it be possible for the person putting the question list together to automatically add these questions on the following week so that it doesn't get forgotten? Yeah, we still need to get Nifty Arcade here, so we got to go bring them back. And I think reality is pretty good at catching them, but not 100%. Question: what are some of the ways you are using or plan to use AI to increase productivity in different areas of your company? We're already using AI to go do that. So, I don't want to get too specific because it's boring, but, marketing will generate some things. When we draft plans and documents, we'll do some things. The devs are checking code and trying to, it's basically everywhere in our company already. I send stuff to Nate all the time to try to get him to look at other ways to utilize AI and see how we might be able to fit it in. So I know that they do some concept art with it. So it's here. It's not, it hasn't completely revolutionized everything that we do here, but it certainly impacts everything we do. Uncivil is asking when Moon, the players all have to get excited. We all have to reach out. We all have to get people in here. And I don't know. I can't answer stuff like that. So I know that's a sassy question, not a real one. Endeavor Freedom is asking, Weirdbeard said a while back that Splinterlands will implement a draft mode. I believe setting up a draft mode can be a way to draw many people into the game and create a process where people can play to win packs and open packs to play a draft against others. Perhaps make a basic set of summoners available for draft and then allow people to open 5 to 10 packs and create a lineup to battle others. I was a drafter in Magic the Gathering Online, and that's all I did. It was fun, quick, and a great way to collect and win cards. Set up a draft mode, and players will come to play that mode, draft teams, and try to win cards. I can elaborate on my ideas if the team is interested in working on a draft mode.
We're like 6 months ahead of you, man. I promise. I would sacrifice 10 baby goats in front of me right now to be able to do it.
Hey, baby goats. Well, no. Yeah, but we're already working on this stuff. It's really it's around we have our plans through June, and then we're literally thinking what comes next. Sometime in early June, sort of late May, early June, we'll have our next roadmaps that we can pass out. So it's something like once every 2 months or once every 2.5 months, somewhere in that range, we put out new roadmaps and can explain what the plan is, and you guys can see what we're working on. And we're going to make it public. We'll make it easy for you guys to spot what we've done and what we're doing next, and hopefully it'll be clear. So that's what I got for today. Thanks everybody for your questions. I think it's pretty amazing that we're coming this far. We're doing great. It is a challenging market. Honestly, these are some of the worst economic conditions. It's the highest interest rate since 2007, the fastest interest rate ramping since the 1970s. We are definitely in some brutal market conditions, and yet we're still here. We're still building. We still have our community. And we have some really awesome things that are coming. So hang in there, stick it out, have some intestinal fortitude along with us, and try to get excited, because some of the things that we're doing are literally like completely novel. And if we really do get this system where we're able to take Web 2 games and turn them into Web 3, and we get out of the testing phase and into the main rollout phase, we'll be bringing on, millions and millions of people per project. And we can do that, multiple times in the same month. It'll be pretty amazing, the steps and the growth that we'll be able to witness. And rather than paying for that, we'll actually get paid. It's all, to me, it's pretty freaking miraculous. Web 3 is amazing. So stick with us, guys. Hang in there. I think our best days are still yet to come, and I'm excited for them. So thank you to the team members that joined me today. Thank you for the team members that are working on this stuff. And that's it. That's what I have for you. And we're doing the best we can to build the coolest things we can. Thanks, everybody.
Chaos reigns and hope is lost. When your darkest days aren't saved by the dawn, we bring the light to help guide the way. We are with you. We are the Rift Watchers. When your enemies places to run.